What the hell is that? Dear Diary, what the hell did I sign up for? Some bullshit about time travel on this hack show? Remind me to fire my agent. Do you know who I am? I'm John Barrymore, goddammit. That's it, I'm not showing up tomorrow. Let them sue me. I can use a break from being the most successful and popular actor in Hollywood anyway. All right, I'm going to go get a martini and smoke a cigarette. Goodbye, Diary.
Yeah, goodbye, Diary, and hello, SAG lawsuit. Hello, everyone. Welcome again to Yelling at Gaseous Anomalies. I'm your host, Captain Matt Ross, and I'm accompanied by my non-singing XO, Michael Pontone. How you doing?
Deserve singing.
Why not, Mike? You don't like tonight's episode? I knew you wouldn't. Tonight's episode is The Alternative Factor. I don't really know what to describe this episode as. It's like a swing and a miss. It's a very bizarre episode.
It had a lot of things going for it, I dare say, in the concept. And let me just say, yes, Michael Pontone, XO to my Captain Matt Ross. Even on a bad Star Trek day, it's a good day. Pleasure to be here, Captain, and to be talking Star Trek with you as we continue on through this journey through the original series. We're almost at the end of season 1, and after a bunch of pretty good episodes, ranging from excellent to average, we go big old step back to something truly mediocre. But yeah, let's get into it. I mean, it's all over the place. Simultaneously, too much happens and not enough happens, and the acting is weird, and the plot is very strange, and the pacing is all over the place. And it's at one point, Captain, I thought that I had accidentally restarted the episode and was watching the same scene over again, because there's a lot of like
wandering
and the same inquiries and the same well if this and that, which I do have a good rewrite for this episode, just saying.
Well, good.
But go plot. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to tell you that you were saying the exact same things that Gene L. Kuhn, Stephen Karabatsis, the network, and Gene Roddenberry were saying too. This was actually written by Don Ingalls, who was a friend of Gene Roddenberry's. He actually wrote a whole bunch of good TV shows, and he had this plan in his head, which you'll notice is very similar if you... when we get to the plot, it's very similar to something in Space Seed. It's also very similar to Moby Dick, and with an obsession of chasing something. But let me read you the NBC press release from January 12th, 1967. Robert Brown guest stars in a dual role in The Alternative Factor, a drama involving two strange men from an uncharted planet who threaten destruction of the universe on NBC Television Network's Colorcast of Star Trek. Thursday, February 2nd. This is a very weird show. The Enterprise is just rolling along in space. They're doing their normal job of charting stars and all sorts of things. Gaseous anomaly, I might say. But they're charting this planet. Everything seems normal and boring, and then suddenly they get hit by an overlay of the Horsehead Nebula or something on their ship as the entire ship shakes. What's that? The universe kind of winks out, or what Spock says, and Kirk's like, well, what the hell does that mean?
Twice, for a split second each time, everything within range of our instruments seemed on the verge of winking out. I want facts, not poetry.
And we're not really sure what's going on. There is some sort of weirdness happening on the planet. It's not really clear what's going on. And this planet that was dead otherwise suddenly now has a life form on it. So that's our opening, or our cold opening. When you look at it that way, it seems okay. It just doesn't tell you what's coming on down the pike. What did you at least think of the opening?
Bad special effect. I was like, what are they trying to show? If they're trying to show something winking out, or if they're trying to show some sort of spatial anomaly, it didn't look like it at all. It looked like a transition to something else that was about to happen. It did not in any way convey that the cosmos was ripping. Like, were they seeing stars? Were the stars being overlaid? Like, it was a really... I know that you don't like Star Trek Picard Season 3, but do you remember when they...
I don't hate it.
Okay, I know, but I said you don't like it. But when they took the cloaking device from the Bounty and put it on the Titan, and like that was really cool to see an unstable cloak field from inside the ship. Like they're inside the ship and suddenly they can see stars through the hull.
Yes.
I thought that was pretty good.
That was good. That's with modern special effects. By the way, just for everyone to know, my opinion of Picard is kind of like Domino's Pizza, consistently mediocre, at least season 3. But this over here, it's you could already tell from the beginning that there's something wrong. It's not doesn't have a smooth transition. The writer of it was all over the place. In fact, Gene L. Kuhn commented on it. But I'm just going to tell you right now, out of all of the original series, this is one of the worst episodes for me. I actually like there's an upcoming episode in season 3 that everyone makes fun of called Spock's Brain. In some ways, I like it better. I mean, here in this entire story, which I gave you the really brief summary, there's a smidgen of an idea about obsession, about a duplicate chasing his other half because he's insane and obsessed with destroying the universe. And in some ways it reminds me of The Highlander, where there could only be one.
There can be only one.
But this is just, I don't know what the heck to make of it. This was also directed by Gerd Oswald. He's a returning player. He did Conscience of the King. But this, I don't know. I have no idea.
I alluded to it because you told me about it, and then I read about it myself. Do you want to give the audience the background with John Barrymore's connection?
Sure. John Barrymore of the Barrymore clan, like Drew Barrymore. In fact, his name is John Drew Barrymore. He was hired to be the original main character, Lazarus, in this. And by the way, there is no allusion to religious in this. They're not even close. But John Barrymore was supposed to be the actor in this, and there were so many script changes, he just said, I'm quitting. And that was it. He just up and quit the day before he was supposed to shoot a film. What happened is they hired this other actor, Robert Brown, on Shatner's say-so. Gene Roddenberry actually used his own personal money and some extra cash to get the guy on 1 day's or less than a day's notice. They called him at 11 o'clock at night saying, we think you'd be great for this. Come on down. And Roddenberry made all these promises to him. I'll pay you the same as Shatner plus a little bit extra. Just don't tell him or I'll sue you. Here's $5. Take it to the cab. Take a cab to a hotel and we'll put your stay up, because he lived in Malibu, Robert Brown, and that's actually far away from where they were filming. So they paid for his hotel where he was staying. By the way, $5 in 2026 money. 2024 money, is the equivalent of giving someone $50 cash.
Really?
That tells you how cheap cabs are, right? So a cab ride might have been like 25 cents to 30 cents, and Roddenberry gave him a $5 bill. That's a lot of cab rides. So Robert Brown said he only had like 4 hours or 5 hours to begin studying these lines, and the script was changing as they were on set. So there was a lot of turmoil on this. Luckily, Robert Brown is the same size as John Barrymore, so the costume fit. The only thing that really stands out is that terrible beard. Yes.
That was so bad, man. What were they thinking? Like, why didn't they didn't need the beard. Just lose the beard. It's not doing anything other than just being like, hey, you want some Brillo, straightened out Brillo pad to catch with spirit gum to this guy's face.
Only had one thing you haven't got.
What's that, sir?
A great big bushy beard.
Well, the first beard where it's thick makes sense, but every other scene, then it's thin, and then it gets thick again, then it gets thin again. So this is the time where the beard cannot change the story, unlike the beard in third season of Star Trek The Next Generation, referring to Riker. This beard just distracts because it's thick, then it's thin again, and apparently what happened is that the regular makeup artist crew switched out and a bunch of interns took over and did a really crap job. So that's why you will also see that the beard changes back and forth. But I haven't really described what the story is because I just want to get right to it as opposed to really talking directly around like we normally do. This is a story about an interdimensional kind of invasion where an antimatter universe is leaking into a positive universe, and there's copies of the same character, Lazarus, played by the same guy. There's one who's hell-bent on destroying the other, who's crazy, theoretically from our universe, and the more calm, reasoned Lazarus is from the antimatter universe, and that is also played by the same character, and they're locked in mortal combat of trying to destroy each other. The problem is that two like particles meet each other, matter and antimatter, especially through an interdimensional gate, as Spock postulates later in the episode, but all universes and realities will explode and die. So they have to prevent that. That's the actual story. The way it actually is characterized is something else. Another thing.
Right. Here's the main problem. That synopsis that you just gave
is better.
One is better. Should have come out succinctly in the first 10 minutes of the episode, and then the rest should have been what a being from a different universe looks like fighting its mirror self. You know, like he takes the Enterprise, and oh my God, how about this? How about they end up going up? They go through a rift, and they're fighting themselves. They're fighting another Enterprise that has the other guy on it.
Yeah,
right? Like we get really into it. All that we see to represent what the Captain just said very succinctly as a good pitch is every 10 minutes there's a weird psychedelic cutaway to some strange double exposure spinning newspaper images of this cosmos, and they're like, oh, what was that? And it's over and over and over again, and nothing happens. I don't know what happens at the end.
I'll tell you what happens. No, I'll tell you what happened. I will tell you that there's like that. So besides the spinning newspaper thing that also drives me nuts, there's like this reverse image corridor,
negative.
Which is what they're in. Yeah, the negative image corridor. Robert Justman came up for that to come up with an idea to try and give it some pizzazz. Roddenberry didn't like the fact that Shatner did nothing but lead away teams everywhere, like 3-4 times, which is true, and there wasn't enough action. My favorite thing is, I'm going to read you this. This is from Gene Kuhn in a memo. He actually wrote a 4-page memo to Roddenberry complaining about his good friend Ingalls' script, but don't worry, it's not all 4 pages. And this sentence says it best. This outline is so sketchy that we have no specific idea of what kind of action, storyline, movement, motivation we are in for. Don't misunderstand this memo. I love the idea of Ahab pursuing the whale, which turns out to be himself. So it's like kind of backhanded on this. Robert Justman had issues like this, and my favorite line of his memo is, I am extremely confused.
Well, not only that, Matt, Captain, like, when he's fighting himself, how is he fighting him? Where is he fighting him? With what? Is he just wrestling?
Yes. It doesn't make sense because at first they're in that negative image zone where they're actually physically fighting each other. It's actually Robert Brown and a stuntman, obviously, because there's not an exact clone of him.
That looks pretty good.
But then there are other moments where he's walking. Yeah, that was it. But then he's walking in the hallway and they switch. The scenes where they're like in the negative image, they get the implication that they're actually 2 of them. But walking in the hallway, they just suddenly switch without being in that area. It kind of doesn't really make sense what the heck's going on. You know what also doesn't make sense going on? How come security isn't guarding this guy on the ship? You got one of the most obnoxious lines from McCoy. Kirk says, "Where's Lazarus? I don't know."
Where is he? I don't know, Jim. This is a big ship. I'm just a country doctor.
What do you mean you don't know? Kind of important to know where this guy is wandering. I have so many WTF moments in this. It's like my list is like 5-6 deep.
Well, not only that. So I was reading about this. Apparently, the African American science officer on here getting coffee, there's supposed to be a potential romance, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Why did they cut that? That would have been something. That would have been something to do. I know they're saying that already happened with Space Seed, but they didn't. It didn't have to be her betraying the ship. It could have just been a motivating factor for him really wanting to stay. or maybe just give up the fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, except in the original treatment, it was almost the exact same thing with Lieutenant Marlon MacGyver's in Space Seed, and it was a debate between Roddenberry and Justman. Justman was saying, we just have this script. Neither Space Seed or this were aired, obviously, yet, and they were trying to decide how to differentiate it, and they got complaints. You've got too many things of the same. You've got too many god beings. You got too many running out of gas stories. And now we have some woman betraying her ship because in the original treatment, Ingalls wrote that she was looking for a man out of time who seemed to have like adventure in his soul. Now, he didn't read Space Seed, but that's exactly the same story.
You could have had, I mean, again, what are these writers, stupid? Just because the romance plot and the betrayal would have been mirror, okay, fine, keep a romance plot, because it'll be something for the character to do, but take away the betrayal, make it a different motivation. Why does it have to be a woman being corrupted and, making a bad decision? Why couldn't it just be her
that's a good question.
Being empowered and be like, all right, this guy's kind of cute. I find him attractive. He finds me attractive. Oh, and by the way, now he doesn't want to fight this being. He wants to maybe go a pacifistic route. Anything. At least something would have happened.
That was actually in it, but that was Roddenberry's call. He said it's too similar to the other one. So they had a lot more away missions to pad out the story. But I will tell you that the original script between and the female officer, Lieutenant Masters, she was actually supposed to be a chemist. That's why she's in blue. But they got sloppy here. They made her an engineer. But where's Scotty? And they put her in engineering. But that's not engineering. It's a little strange how they got sloppy there. That was supposed to be dilithium recharging or lithium recharging because this is earlier than in the other episode. So it's somewhat closer to Mudd's Women, believe it or not. It's very strange.
It's a problem with, with bad creativity with any organization. If it's a TV show, a movie, if it's a courtroom or a restaurant, if there's one thing wrong, it's going to trickle down into everything, right? Because everyone might know that, hey, this is a bad product, so everyone stops doing their job, They stop being careful because they're saying, well, the screenwriter wasn't being careful. Why should I be careful? Because I guarantee you someone on the set was like, engineering, shouldn't she be in red? At least thinking it, but didn't say it out loud. Just like, listen, this is a garbage one. Let's just get through it. We can all go and have our highball.
That's kind of what it is. You know what it was is that their option was to film it or skip it because they were running so far behind. They took a chance on filming it. By the way, they blew the budget. I'm going to tell you what it is at the end. I mean, like their entire... Oh, my God, yes. From the special effects of the negative and that Horsehead Nebula implant and the shaking and the sound. Crazy. And also the phaser. Yep, there's a whole bunch of stuff. But I will tell you...
They use the same effect over and over again, and it's such a simple effect. It's a double exposure.
Well, they also had to build that UFO ship, too. They were thinking of using a shuttlecraft, but that cost $30,000, and the mock-up they had was $5,000. Yeah. No, the shuttlecraft, like in the Galileo, but the little thing was like $5,000, so that's a lot of money.
Didn't they already have the shuttlecraft?
But they were going to destroy it, so I don't know what the hell they were thinking. I will tell you, there is some positives, though. One of the most positive things is that the actress playing the lieutenant, Janet McLaughlin, she came in with a wig, but they said get rid of the wig and keep your natural hair. So she was like one of the first actresses to show an afro, and a lot of people, African Americans, are like, hey, look at that. We're being recognized on TV. It was actually a big step towards civil rights. Beautiful. In fact, Gene Coon's secretary was like, well, I'm not wearing a wig anymore. A lot of African American women wearing wigs, like with straight hair, and they saw things like this and said, "Screw it, I'm going to be who I'm going to be." So this was actually a big step, and that was done on purpose on Star Trek. They say, like, listen, we're beyond racial stereotypes or trying to make people conform to a specific way. We're all one human race.
Darn tootin'.
So for that one little brief shining moment in this episode, that exists. But the rest of it. The love story has some really cringe dialogue. I have to read this. because it's just so bad. She stares at him at a strange look in her eyes. He stares at her, then softly he tells her, "I have moved through eternity to find you. You know that, don't you?"
Don't mind that.
See, even your dog doesn't like
I know.
it. When we first saw each other, you must have felt it. She says you were like a wounded eagle. He says an eagle looks a long time for his mate, and once he finds her, he never leaves
Oh, man.
her.
Okay. I got the perfect rewrite to this episode.
What, you going to make a continental divide with John Belushi? Because that has very similar lines in it, and that's from the 80s.
That's the movie where he's like, it's like a bit of a drama, right? And like there's John Belushi.
Yes, it's a love story
and
drama.
He's like in front of like lots of beautiful like Alaskan vistas or something. Yeah.
Yes, see, that's actually okay there, but this dialogue here, I don't know. To me, I guess cringe when I read stuff like that.
I was watching that movie one time. It just was on TV late at night, and I was stunned because I was like, why is John Belushi in such a beautiful film? I thought I was dreaming it. I thought it looked so surreal. I didn't realize he was such a good actor. Although Blues Brothers is one of my favorite films of all time. I consider it to be a perfect film. Anyway, can I say my rewrite?
Yeah, well, hold on. Let me just add a couple other things in here. So that they cut that out. Roddenberry wrote on why he cut it out. In both Space Seed and this story, we have a crew woman madly in love with a brawny guest star and flipping our whole gang into a real mess because she's in love. Isn't that really pretty selfish? Which is not to say that women in love don't do strange, stupid, and or selfish things. But
people in general.
But do they have to do them in 2 of our scripts? Oh, Gene. Also, there was an idea that Kirk ran into his doppelganger. So there, they actually did have that idea. But NBC said, didn't we just do that on The Enemy Within? So there was a question of a lot of the same. It was very, very difficult on this. But sure, go ahead. Rewrite this episode, please.
I got it. And it's an easy rewrite, right? He comes there, he finds this woman, and then it's revealed that the reason why he kind of left his old universe and started this conflict and splintered himself into 2 was because he had been in love with her in a different universe, and she had died as a result of the clash with his double.
Oh.
And that's why, and that was a motivating factor. And they asked, like, so what caused you to change universes in the first place? And he's like very private about it. And then he sees her, and he's like, well, this is fate. This is destiny. You know, destiny has put me here, so I'm not going to lose you again. Something.
Isn't that kind of...
And, you know, maybe that's his motivating factor.
Is that kind of like the DS9 episode where Cisco crosses over and meets, you know, his wife who died thanks to the Borg? Spoilers for Emissary.
Is she? Yeah. What happens I never really watched the Mirror Universe episodes too closely because I was always more into the Dominion War. Well, did he find his wife in the other one?
Yes, it did. I mean, how could you miss the Mirror Universes? There was like 400 of them. They actually beat the Mirror Universe to death. Yeah. I think there are 5 or 6 of them. Yeah, it's. But getting back to this script, when you take out the love story, it really makes it flat. I mean, I have to give it credit. You did have Kirk finally doing something. He's trying to figure out the mystery with Spock, and you actually see that dynamic in their conference room scene later. They're trying to figure out what it is. McCoy and Kirk are a little bit at odds, like, again, that first scene, and then later when McCoy says, you know, that gash keeps disappearing and reappearing, you would think 2 things. 1, they would have a security guard with this guy. And 2, they would have jumped to the conclusion that maybe it's 2 guys. We got some universal weirdness going on. That just didn't feel like it. Or how about, let's just get to a WTF moment. Lazarus is inside the crew's rec room, and he sees Lieutenant Masters over there. But he's in the rec room. No one says, hey, look at the guy in the ripped clothing with the bandage on. You think maybe he's in trouble? I mean, everyone's like smiling at him, and they're like, what are they drinking, like, you know, booze in there and not noticing? I don't know. It's just, the crew just walked by Lazarus without an issue. It's like, it's okay. It's all right. It's just crazy. I want to also point out that Brown was saying that he said he was living a nightmare because he was playing catch-up on the script because he was being pushed around to do shots like every day. They were rushing to get this done because John Barrymore quit, and they were just trying to fit it into their schedule. And just to follow up on John Barrymore, he was fined a lot of money. He was fined like $14,000, which is a big amount of money in today's terms. He was also not permitted to work for 6 months. It's crazy.
Chump change to Barrymore.
Well, not at that time. It was not chump change for him. But the thing that's more fascinating is on the SAG Board, the people listening to complaints from Roddenberry and Robert Justman and Herb Solow, they had on that board, it was run by Carl Malden. It had also Ricardo Montalban, so he was already in their favor. So that's, I found it.
Yeah.
Also, Charlton Heston was on this board.
Well,
and Jeanette Nolan and Donald Randolph were like actors and so forth. So they made him pay $1,500.66, which is $14,450 in this time period, and they prohibited him from working for 6 months. The story I was reading is that this is one of the things that made him spiral into depression and alcoholism.
God, get out!
No,
of
I'm
here.
serious.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that's
No, the fine, not Star Trek. The fine and the suspension from working. So it was just very sloppy when they put it together. By the way, Menagerie is airing as this is being filmed, and this took 7 days. 7 days. It was really a long time, but.
Well, not only that, I mean, like, no, but I know that they use Vasquez Rocks a few times, but they literally use the exact same angle as Arena, the exact same location. Kirk isn't like, hey, this looks like the Arena planet that I battled the Gorn.
Or your favorite episode, Shore Leave. Don't you like Shore Leave with the fighting music, Mike? You love Finnegan.
I do like the fighting
music. And you do love Finnegan.
But I hate that episode. And I will say this, I like Shore Leave more than this, because at least it had a good concept and it had Bones going around, bopping around and doing interesting things. And, this was just, I don't know, it's like a nightmare. You know how when really bad writing seems almost surreal? Because, like, really bad writing, you're like, am I missing something? Am I going crazy? And this is what happens. My mom actually said that when she was watching, she was trying to watch Rings of Power.
Oh, God.
And she was like... I watched 2 episodes, Michael, and I couldn't. It was like watching a nightmare, like because nothing made sense, and there was no progression or come on, chronology was out of whack, and motivations were bizarre. So I was like, no, Mom, you're not wrong. They're wrong. You're absolutely correct.
That's true. And also, you also get to find out why rocks sink and boats float in one of the most... it's really
God.
like, really? That's genius. Yeah, this is just as bad, if not worse. Actually, Rings of Power is way worse than this. I'd watch this 7 days a week and twice on Sunday versus Rings of Power, which is...
Captain, I'm going to just say one, like, there's one thing that I thought that I had, interesting, and that was it, right? His time spaceship kind of has the source of the time travel.
Right.
It looks kind of like a flux capacitor.
It kind of does have one of those in there. And
it's in the same location, and I wonder if the set designer for Back to the Future was inspired. That's it. That's my only... interesting note. I mean, listen, again, good concept. And I would have liked a concept where something happens that is affecting the health of the entire universe, where they encounter a phenomenon that is potentially massive implications. But just nothing happened. It was like someone took the script and put it into a blender.
Yeah. This was just really bad. It was actually rewritten, how many times? Was it 5 times? And then it was also done over 4 more times by Gene Kuhn and Stephen Karabatsis, up to the day that they were filming. They were changing the scripts as they were filming. It was painful. But I will tell you, besides the civil rights things that were positive, I will tell you that this is actually interesting. Robert Brown says, all the rushing created an uncomfortable feeling. But not from Shatner. He couldn't have been better. And the rest of the cast was a nice group, except for the morose man with the ears. I think that's actually kind of funny that Leonard Nimoy is considered a cold fish. That's not the first time we've heard it. And, everyone says, oh, Shatner was horrible on the set. Shatner was a jokester, kind of like your captain here. But, yeah.
I'm willing to bet that Leonard Nimoy, he's an artist, and I'm willing to bet that he was interested in getting the work done and not joking around, and he probably felt it when the product was bad more than the others. I'd be willing to bet. It's kind of like, did you ever see if you look behind the scenes at
TNG?
Michael Richards?
Okay, yeah.
No. In Seinfeld, Michael Richards takes the craft very seriously. He takes the craft of comedy and of acting very seriously. And he would hate it when people would flub their lines on set or start to crack up. Because like, come on. So he was said to be a few times a bit of a taskmaster for getting the product done, the work done. So if Nimoy was like that, I understand where he's coming from, especially given a turkey of a script like this. He was probably miserable.
Yeah.
He didn't want to be making a bad product.
Yeah. But there's some other just physically interesting things. Some of those scenes at Vasquez Rocks were at night. If you look carefully, you'll see that the lighting looks like day. Those are those arc lights again. Let's see, the next big step is that Kirk is able to enter into the negative universe, and he runs into the good Lazarus.
So you're the terrible thing, the murdering monster, the creature.
Yes, Captain. Or he is. Depends on your point of view, doesn't it?
Or the anti-Lazarus. And they actually have a very solid conversation as to what they could expect. The way to save the universes from colliding is basically trap both Lazaruses in the mirror or in this corridor, where the Enterprise would have to destroy the bad Lazarus's ship, which somehow destroys the good Lazarus's ship, which doesn't really make sense unless there's another Enterprise there, trapping them in between the galaxies trying to kill each other for all eternity, which is a little bizarre. But that scene where Kirk is running to see Lazarus, if you look carefully, first he's at Vasquez Rocks, and then he's on a set. So they actually filmed that second shot, or the B shot, in a real spot, and then they just edited it in the set where the UFO spaceship is sitting. So that's mildly interesting. I don't know. This is kind of a big miss for me. I also do like the Enterprise shooting its phaser at a different angle. That's different. But otherwise, this was terrible. Before we get to our ratings, I just want to mention my WTFs. One is that altered engineering set. I don't know, did you have an issue on that? I just saying, well, where's regular engineering? What is this place?
No, it didn't bother me. I mean, who knows? Maybe it was just, a utility room off of engineering. We see lots of different rooms in engineering. That one with Conscious of the King where he was poisoned.
Right.
That was not normal engineering, or at least it didn't look like it.
No, it was. It was.
Okay. I mean, it didn't bother me at all. There are different rooms and different utility rooms. Captain, I'm sorry. I want this episode to be over.
Wait a minute. Where's Scotty? It's a good question.
Where's Scotty? Where's Sulu?
What about why is there no security anywhere? And that beard.
Oh, whatever.
That beard, man. I can't stand that beard. Oh, my God. Well, before we get there, let me just tell you why. Now, most of these episodes I've been telling you for the longest time are about, they run anywhere from $160 to $180, $180,000 per episode. This cost $210,879, and just again to put that in 2024 dollars, that's $2,044, $44,152.98. It's crazy. How did this cost twice the actual price of most episodes? It's insane. I don't know.
You know what I would have done? I would have, if I was Roddenberry and Barrymore dropped out.
Cancel it?
I would have said, all right. Well, you know what? I would have done a classic Chain of Command, right? Chain of Command and TNG. They were running out of money. So they were like, okay, let's just do one episode, made it over two, so that way we can save the cost of an episode, and let's just keep the extra content between two people in one room. No locations, no special effects, no extras. They should have figured out, all right, you know what? This isn't going to work. Let's scrap it, and let's just let's get our writers together and come up with a tight 45-page script that takes place in one location. let it be a diplomats debating with each other over a moral issue. Let it be an adaptation of like no exit. Something. Do something that is borrowing from something else. Steal from a great and make it unique and experimental. What you don't do is try to squeak out a traditional episode of exploration with special effects and high concept sci-fi poorly.
Yeah.
Badly.
They should have just once they saw how bad the script was going, they should have just canceled it and moved to the next one. They could have easily done that, so they would have had, one less for the season. But this is really about it. I don't really think there's anything else left to add to this. It's just bad. That's what I'm going to call it.
Yeah.
They would have had 28 episodes or 27 since we count the Menagerie as one episode. They could have just skipped it and gone to the next one. So one of the funny things is I just want to mention every time I see this, I keep wanting it to be better. I've seen this numerous times, and I keep thinking that, just like you were saying, you feel like you're missing it. It's just like writing legal papers. It's always harder to write against bad papers than good papers. And it's like, what am I missing? Is it that simply bad? Is it just, it's just terrible. So let's just wrap this up and get to our ratings on this, on our very scientific 1 to 10 scale. Mike, what are you going to give this wonder of an episode?
1.
1. Wow. Well, I'm not even going to go there. I'm going to give this one a 3. I think we've already gone over why it sucks. I give it a 3 only for me because I keep looking for something else. I do like something. I'm not even sure what I really like in it. It's just the thing I think what I do like is there is still an adventure in here. I kind of like the mystery at first of the opening, but that's really stretching it, and I'm being overly kind by giving it a 3. I can see why you give this a 1. It's the beard, isn't it?
Right.
All right.
I mean, it's everything. It's just, I don't know. I really don't like, bad writing.
It's bad writing.
It's just that's it. It's the most important concept, and if it's out the door, it's pointless. And it's not just like something like, oh man, I can't remember the episode. It's hard to remember bad episodes, right? I can't remember the episode that we saw where they forgot to like put in something. Oh, right, no, the spores.
Oh,
where, like they forgot to put in a conflict. They forgot to put in the problem with this, like the concept that the spores would. They forgot to put in the detriment to the spores. Like they literally were writing it, and it's like when they in Flatiron when they forgot to put in women's bathrooms. In this, they didn't forget anything. It's just garbage.
Well, I disagree. The spores. Communism's bad, man. Got to support capitalism. That's what their big argument was, but it was done poorly. No, I agree with you. This is just, it's just bad. There's nothing else really. I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel bad for fans watching it, but if you want to power through, go ahead. Just it's another Captain Ahab and White Whale type of thing, just done very, very poorly. That's the best way to describe it, I think. Unless there's anything else you want to add to this exciting story here, Mike.
No. Nothing comes to mind.
Okay.
So.
All right, well then, let's just wrap it up right here. And hi again to all of our fans out there. If you like what we're doing here, please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. And don't forget to contact us if you have any questions or comments at yellingatgas@gmail.com. And also don't forget to buy a snazzy-looking T-shirt, better than anything Lazarus is wearing, in our TeePublic store. And also look for us on Facebook and all your podcasters out there. Well, I guess we'll see you next time on our penultimate episode of the first season, which is leagues better than this. It's one of the better ones. It's called The City on the Edge of Forever. Most people know that one already. It's a fascinating story of love and adventure, and we'll be talking about that next time on our next episode of Yelling at Gaseous Anomalies. Mike, do you have anything else you want to say to our fans out there at all, or anything else you want to add?
If any of you fans out there have facial hair like this guy, I'm sorry. Stop following us. We don't need you. You're not welcome here.
So that's it after 20 years. So long, good luck?
I don't recall saying good luck.
But yeah, that's basically it. So, Mike, you have anything else you want to add, saying at all to this great episode?
Nope. Even when it's bad, it's still a fun time with Captain. Thank you, sir.
All right, well, thank you, everyone, and we'll see you out there.
What of Lazarus?
And what of Lazarus?